بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. So it pleases us to continue with our study in this book, this noble book, Kitaab At-Tawheed, by Shaykh Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahaab, alayhi rahmatullah. And as our noble brother mentioned, we normally read from the explanation of a Shaykh Al-Allama Al Ubaid ibn AbdiLlah Al Jabirī, حفظه الله. Today, however, we're going to read a little bit from the commentary of the Shaykh Salih al-Shaykh, known as At-Tamimi. At-Tamimi Sharhi Kitaab At-Tawheed, الذي هو حق الله على العبيد. And we're going to pick up from where we left off in the last lesson, and that is the statement of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And your Lord has qada, meaning He has adjudicated and ruled and decreed. And as we're going to see from the speech of Shaykh Salih, that what is intended by al-qada or qada here is amara wa awjaba wa alzama. Your Lord has commanded, He has made binding and compulsory upon you, أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ, that you do not worship any other than Him, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, and that you are good towards your parents. As Shaykh Salih al-Shaykh, he mentions in his explanation, qada, he says, وَقَضَى كَمَا فَسَّرَهَا عَدَدٌ مِنَ الصَّحَابَةِ هُنَا بِمَعْنَى أَمَرَ وَبَصَّى. Qada, as has been explained by a number of the companions, within this verse bears the meaning of amara, so He has issued His command. And the command is also that it denotes wujub, or obligation, وَوَصَى, and that He has decreed or ruled. Now, وَأَمَرَ وَوَصَى فِيهِمَا مَعْنَى الْقَوْلِ دُونَ حُرُوفِ الْقَوْلِ فَتَكُونْ أَنْ في قوله أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا. He says, and the command here and the ruling here, they have the meaning of القول دون حروف القول. It bears the meaning of, or it bears the meaning of a statement without the statement being written. Meaning there's a statement here indicative of a command, even though a command has not been written. So when it says قَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ here, this is an indication that your Lord has ruled, but this bears the meaning of a command. It is a command. Now, even though the wording of the command is not present, the command is understood and implied. So he says that it bears the meaning of al-qawl duna huruf al-qawl, meaning the statement is there even though the letters of the statement are not present. فَتَكُونْ أَنْ فِي قَوْلِهِ أَلَّا, the and that is implied here within the statement of Allah Ta'ala, أَلَّا, because أَلَّا is a compound word made up of an and la. An and la. So when you bring these two words together, an and la, it becomes Allah. Allah. So the word an here, which is inside of Allah, ta'budu, is tafsiriyah. It is tafsiriyah, meaning it is an explanation of what came before it. It is an explanation of what came before it. So when it says that qada rabbuka, that your Lord has ruled, what has your Lord ruled with? What is it that Allah Ta'ala has commanded? So the and here is tafsiriyah. It's going to explain to you what it is that Allah Ta'ala has commanded with. طيب. أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا عَفْوًا. Now, وَبِمَاذَا أَمَرَ وَوَصَى, meaning with what has He commanded and adjudicated or ruled? It is that أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, that you should not worship any other than Him, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, and that you are kind and dutiful towards your parents. His statement in which he said, أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ هَذَا مَعْنَى لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. This is the meaning of La ilaha illallah. This is the meaning of your testimony of faith. The kalima of At-Tawhīd, you find it right here inside of this verse. Now, because the kalima of At-Tawhīd, it consists of an ithbat and a nafi. There's an affirmation and a negation. Meaning something is being affirmed, something is being negated. When you say La ilaha illallah, this is known, right? It should be known with every one of you. That what you are negating is the validity of worship from any other than Allah, and what you are affirming is worship for Allah alone. And that is when you say La ilaha, here's your negation. You're negating the validity of worship of other than Allah. Now, and when you say illallah, this is your affirmation. You're affirming worship for Allah Ta'ala alone. And the correct meaning of it is La ma'bud bihaq illallah. There is no true object of worship except Allah. Right? So similarly, you find that same thing in this verse. أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ. You are not to worship إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ. You are not to worship لَا تَعْبُدُوا, here's your negation. إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ, that's your affirmation. طيب. He says, لِأَنَّ اللَّا نَفْيٌ. Now, لأن لا نفي, because the la is a negation. It is a negation. دقيقة. So the Shaykh, he mentions, حفظه الله, now, لأن لا نفي في الجملتين, because the la here is a negation in both sentences. It's a negation in both sentences. Now, وقال هنا, and he said here, تعبدوا, لا تعبدوا, وهي بمعنى إله. This bears the meaning of ilah, right? And لا تعبدوا is similar to when you say La ilaha. Right? Similar to when you say La ilaha. So when you say La ilaha illallah, La here is a negation. Similarly, when you say La ta'budu illa iya, the La here is likewise a negation. Ta'budu here bears the meaning of ilah. When you say La ilaha illallah, similarly, when you in this verse, Allah Ta'ala says ta'budu, it's similar to your statement ilah when you say La ilaha illallah. في كلمة التوحيد. فالإله هو المعبود. And an ilah, the term ilah, it bears the meaning of al-ma'bud, or the object of worship. Ilah likewise bears the meaning of al-ma'luh. Al-ma'luh means the one that is adored, the one that is deified and considered to be an object of worship. Meaning a ma'bud, right? The same meaning as ma'bud. He mentions here, now, فقوله ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه, that you are not to worship إلا إياه, except him, يعني احصروا العبادة فيه وحده دون ما سواه, meaning restrict your worship to him, تبارك وتعالى, exclusively, and not giving any of that to anyone besides him. فإنه أمر بهذا ووصى به, because he is commanded with this and he has ruled or adjudicated by way of that. هذا هو معنى التوحيد, and this is the meaning of التوحيد. This is the meaning of التوحيد. والدلالة والآية على التوحيد ظاهرة. So therefore, the indication of this verse for التوحيد is clear, and why this verse is appropriate to be mentioned inside of Kitaab At-Tawheed in this particular chapter is likewise clear to us. Now, and it is that Tawheed is to single out Allah with worship. أو تحقيق كلمة لا إله إلا الله. Or it is the actualization of the statement لا إله إلا الله. وبالوالدين إحسانا. He likewise mentioned in the verse وبالوالدين ihsana, that you are to be kind and dutiful to your parents, meaning ahsinu bil walidain ihsana, meaning treat your two parents well. This, ayyuhal ikhwa wa akhawat, is sufficient to show you the enormity of the right of the parents. That Allah Ta'ala connected their right to His right. In many places in the book of Allah Ta'ala, you find mention of Allah's right, and after that, mentioning of the rights of the parents. Now, he says, قال قوله وَعَبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. Moving on to the next verse that is mentioned here in Kitaab At-Tawheed, the author, he brings the statement of Allah Ta'ala, وَعَبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. Worship Allah and do not associate anything as a partner with Him. وَهَذَا أَيْضًا فِيهِ أَمْرٌ وَنَهْيٌ. This as well contains inside of it a negation and a prohibition. A negation, and a command and a prohibition. A command and a prohibition. Now, and that is the statement of Allah Ta'ala, وَعَبُدُ اللَّهِ. That's your command. وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. And don't associate anything as a partner with Him. Here's your prohibition. Here's your prohibition. Now, وَهَذَا أَيْضًا فِيهِ أَمْرٌ وَنَهْيٌ. أَمَّا الْأَمْرُ فَفِي قَوْلِهِ وَعَبُدُ اللَّهِ. As for the command, it is the statement of Allah, worship Allah. أَمَّا النَّهْيِ فَفِي قَوْلِهِ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. It is in a statement of Allah Ta'ala, and don't associate anything as a partner with Him. وَقَدْ مَرَّ دَلَالَ قَوْلِهِ وَعَبُدُ اللَّهِ مَعَ النَّفِي عَلَى تَوْحِيدِ اللَّهِ. And we have already previously mentioned how the statement of Allah Ta'ala, وَعَبُدُ اللَّهِ, and worship Allah, it contains, when it comes along with a nafi, then it indicates the Tawhīd of Allah Azza wa Jal. The Shaykh, he goes on to say that this is an indication, when he says shay'an, this is an indication towards the generality of all things. When Allah Ta'ala says, لَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا, it is general. Why? Because shay'an is nakira, it is indefinite, coming in the context of a prohibition. So therefore it denotes umum, or generality, for all things. No thing can be associated with Allah Azza wa Jal as an object of worship. and this is inclusive of all forms of polytheism. Major polytheism, minor polytheism, hidden or inconspicuous polytheism, none of them are permissible. None of them are allowed. لا الشرك الأصغر مأذون به ولا الأكبر ولا الخفي. Neither minor shirk, nor major shirk, nor hidden or inconspicuous shirk. As I believe that we mentioned to the brothers, if we didn't mention to you, we're mentioning it now by all your benefit, that when it comes down to the categorization of a shirk into its classes, major, minor, inconspicuous, or hidden. Likewise, the categorization of At-Tawhīd into lordship, worship, names, and qualities. These terms are not istilahi, meaning they are not terms that you're not going to find them inside of the Kitab of Allah Azza wa Jal or the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah alayhi salam in this form. But we arrive at them by way of al-istiqra. Al-istiqra, meaning that the ulama, they review the book of Allah, they review the text, they review the Sunnah, and they are able to arrive at the fact that Tawheed has lordship, Tawheed has worship, Tawheed has names and qualities. It has these three types and categories. Similarly, for shirk. Now you won't find mention in the Quran of the fact that there's major shirk, there's minor shirk, there's hidden shirk in this way. However, by way of al-istiqra, meaning they review the text and they are able to extract from that shirk is divided into these categories. So for this reason, if it were the case that this was a terminology that comes clearly in the Book of Allah or the Sunnah, then we will be obliged to stick to that terminology. But since it does not come like that, then the ulama, they have divided shirk into, or they have various statements in terms of how they divide shirk. Some of them say that it is two types, major and minor. Some of them say that it is three types, major, minor, and hidden. But those who say that it is only two types, major and minor, as it relates to the hidden or shirk al-khafi, the inconspicuous type of shirk, they say that this type is not an independent type in itself, but rather it can take place in both major and minor shirk. Okay, so a person can commit a hidden form of shirk that is major. Likewise, a person can commit a hidden form of shirk that is from the lesser or minor forms of shirk. And when we say shirk al-asghar, don't think that it is insignificant. Yani minor shirk is not insignificant. Rather, the shirk is minor, but the sin is major. But in the grand scheme of things, it is a lesser form of shirk than the first. Okay? And moreover, others of the ulama divide shirk into categories similar to the categories of At-Tawhīd. So a person commits shirk in the lordship of Allah, a person commits shirk in the ibadah of Allah, or the uluhiyyah of Allah, a person commits shirk in the names and attributes of Allah wa ta'ala. You commit shirk in the lordship of Allah ta'ala by way of giving to a created being some aspect of Allah's lordship. Like we found with Ar-Rafida, who say that their imams have control, as has been mentioned by this individual who refers to himself as Ayatollah Al-Khomeini within his book Sharia, where he mentions that that the imam has a praiseworthy station and a lofty status that is not attained by any prophet sent as a messenger, nor any angel that is near to Allah. Due to that status which he has, the ذرات the atoms and molecules in the universe yield and submit to the Imam. This is the statement of Ar-Rafida, giving them what? Aspects of lordship, knowledge of the unseen, and other than that. This is shirk in the lordship. Shirk in worship is clear, right? Person commits shirk, he worships other than Allah, he committed shirk in the worship of Allah Ta'ala. Shirk in the names and attributes of Allah Ta'ala is one of two ways. Either, it comes about one of two ways. Either the individual gives Allah an attribute of a created being. You give Allah Ta'ala an attribute of a created being. This is committing shirk in the lordship of Allah, the names and attributes of Allah. Or you give a created being a name or attribute that is specific to Allah. Okay, one of two ways. Either you give Allah a name or attribute that is specific to, or that is befitting of a created being, or you give a created being a name or attribute that is only befitting of Allah Ta'ala. This is shirk in the names and qualities of Allah, for those ulama who divide shirk into categories similar to that of At-Tawhīd. That which is well known amongst the people of knowledge is shirk is major and minor. It is major and minor. And some of them say major, minor, and inconspicuous or hidden. At any rate, none of that is permissible. None of this is ma'dunun bih, is allowed. Okay? Now, وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ كَذَلِكَ لَيْسَ مَأْذُونٌ أَنْ لَا أو أَنْ يُشْرَكْ بِهِ لَا مَلَكٌ وَلَا نَبِيٌّ. Likewise, it is not allowed to that an angel nor a prophet be made as a partner alongside Allah wa ta'ala, وَلَا صَالِحٌ وَلَا طَالِحٌ وَلَا عَالِمٌ وَلَا قَرِيبٌ وَلَا بَعِيدٌ. Nor a righteous person, nor a wicked person, nor a scholar, nor someone who is near to you, nor someone who is far away from you. بِدَلَالَةِ قَوْلِهِ شَيْئًا. And the proof for that is the statement of Allah Ta'ala, shay'an. Why? As we mentioned before, the shay'an is nakira, it is indefinite, coming in the context of a prohibition. Therefore, it denotes umum, generality. Now, قال قوله تعالى. He likewise mentions the statement of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. This is the kalam of the muallif here. وقوله تعالى قل تعالوا أتلوا ما حرم ربكم عليكم. Allah Ta'ala said, say, come, I shall recite to you what your Lord has prohibited you from, haram for you. أَلَّا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. First thing he mentioned was what? Shirk. That you did not make anything as a sharer or as a partner alongside him. Right after that, he mentioned what? Again, showing you the enormity of the right of the parent, and how Allah Ta'ala mentions the right of the parent directly after mentioning his right, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. He said, after mentioning that you should not make shirk with him, وَالْبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, and that you ought to be good and kind and dutiful towards your parents. 9. وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ مِنْ إِمْلَاقٍ, and that you should not murder your children out of fear of poverty. نَحْنُ نَرْزُقُكُمْ وَإِيَّاهُمْ, for we, meaning Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, provide for you and will likewise provide for them. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الْفَوَاحِشَ مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا وَمَا بَطَنَ, and that you should not approach al-fawahish, that which is apparent from it and that which is hidden. Fawahish, is the plural of the word fahisha. And fahisha is every lewd and despicable action and statement. So, despicable and lewd and inappropriate statements, likewise despicable and inappropriate actions, all of that enters into fawahish. So zina and speech regarding zina, looking at those things that are impermissible, and vile language and the likes of this, lying, backbiting, tale carrying, all of that enters into al-fawahish, every lewd and evil and despicable statement and action. He says that which is apparent from it and that which is hidden. وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا النَّفْسَ الَّتِي حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ, and that you should not murder a soul that Allah Ta'ala has made inviolable except with due right. ذَلِكَ وَصَّاكُمْ بِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. This He has commanded you with, so that perhaps you can have intellect. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا مَالَ الْيَتِيمِ إِلَّا بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ حَتَّى يَبْلُغَ أَشُدَّهُ, and that you should not approach the wealth of the orphan except to increase it or to make it better until he reaches the age of full strength. وَأَوْفُوا الْكَيْلَ وَالْمِيزَانَ بِالْقِسْطِ, and that you should give full measures and weights in justice. لَا نُكَلِّفُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا وُسْعَهَا, we do not burden any soul beyond its scope. وَإِذَا قُلْتُمْ فَعَدِلُوا, and when you speak, be just. وَلَوْ كَانَ ذَا قُرْبَى, even if your speech is in relation to a relative. وَبِعَهْدِ اللَّهِ أَوْفُوا, and fulfill the covenant of Allah. ذَلِكُمْ وَصَّاكُمْ بِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. This He has commanded you with, so that perhaps you can reflect. وَأَنَّ هَذَا صِرَاطِي مُسْتَقِيمًا فَاتَّبِعُوهُ, this is my straight path, so therefore follow it. وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا السُّبُلَ فَتَفَرَّقَ بِكُمْ عَنْ سَبِيلِهِ, and don't follow other diversion paths, lest they lead you away from His path. ذَلِكَ وَصَّاكُمْ بِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. This He has commanded you with, so that perhaps you can acquire taqwa of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So these verses are known as the wasiyah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and these verses are very muhim. They're very important. What they indicate to us, because these verses are Madani verses, and they were revealed towards the end of his life alayhi salatu wasalam. And what we are able to extract from that, from benefit, is the fact that the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam spent the entirety of his life calling to Tawheed. Some of the people, they often say that he called to Tawheed for 13 years in Mecca. The entirety of his life was filled with calling to Tawheed, from the Meccan period to the Medinan period. This is amongst that which proves that. Because this verse is the Madani verse. It was amongst the last verses revealed to him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Similarly, the fact that he would send du'ats out during the Madani period while he was in Medina. He would send out du'at as callers to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. He sent Mu'adh to Yemen, told him that you're going to a people from the people of the book. So that the first thing you call them to be what? La ilaha illallah. Wa fi riwayah, and you wahid Allah. That they should single out Allah in worship. It's an indication that he alayhi salatu wasalam, spent the entirety of his life calling to the Tawheed of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, even during the Madani period, not just the 13 years that he was in Mecca after being commissioned as a prophet. His statement, قُلْ تَعَلَوْا, say, come, يعني, يَا مَنْ حَرَّمَ بَعْضَ الْأَنْعَامِ, O you who has prohibited some livestock animals, because some of the people, they made certain livestock animals impermissible. The animal that's born in this month, or the animal that has this description, and so on and so forth. The pagan Arabs, they would make these things haram. They would make them haram. And they had no authority to do so. Allah had sent down authority for them to do so. Now, so he says, meaning, oh, you have made some of livestock animals haram, وَافْتَرَى عَلَى اللَّهِ فِي ذَلِكَ, and you have slandered, you have fabricated against this affair against Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Come, I'm going to recite to you what your Lord has made haram. So here the Messenger of Allah alayhi salam, Allah Ta'ala is commanding his prophet to clarify to them those things that Allah has really made haram, because they are making things up. The things that they are saying Allah has made haram, He's not made them haram. Now, and the first thing that he began with was أَلَّا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا, that you should not make shirk with him. Right? These pagan Arabs who, from their primary descriptive characteristics, is shirk. You attach to that lying upon Allah Ta'ala, saying that Allah has made haram. So the first thing that Allah Ta'ala mentioned here is the primary thing that they're known for, shirk. Now, قال العلماء أن هنا تفسيرية. The scholars have said that the word أن here, أن لا, or ألا تشركوا به شيئا, the أن here is تفسيرية. ومفسرها محذوف, and that which it explains, that which it clarifies and explains is محذوف, but it is a latent phrase, meaning it is implied and understood. And its latent phrase is wasaqum, meaning that which he has commanded you with. لأن أن تفسيرية هي التي تأتي بعد جملة فيها معنى القول دون حروفه, because the أن تفسيرية is that which comes after a sentence that has the معنى القول دون حروفه. And as we mentioned this earlier, you have certain phrases that are not there, commands that may be not there in the writing, but the command is understood and implied. So the ma'na is there, even though the huruf of it, the letters of it is not there. It's not written, but it's understood. Now, وَإِنَّمَا قَدُّرُوا الْمَحْذُوفِ بِقَوْلِهِمْ وَصَّاكُمْ. So the scholars have said that the latent phrase that is omitted, it is the statement وَصَّاكُمْ. He has advised you with or commanded you with, لِأَنَّهُ جَاءَ فِي آخِرِ الْآيَةِ, because this comes at the end of each set of verses here. ذَلِكُمْ وَصَّاكُمْ بِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. In the first verse, then he likewise mentioned لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. ذَلِكُمْ وَصَّاكُمْ بِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. This he has commanded you with so that you can reflect. Likewise he said ذَلِكُمْ وَصَّاكُمْ بِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you can have taqwa. All of these three contained tawsiyah, meaning Allah Ta'ala issuing a command. So therefore, the latent phrase at the beginning of the set of verses is wasaqum bihi. Tayyib. He said, firstly, alla tushriku bihi shay'a. And this is similar to the verses that came before it in terms of its indication towards At-Tawhīd. So therefore, this set of verses, known as the will of the Prophet, I mean, it's amongst his last commands that he gave to his ummah, and it is amongst the last of the verses that were revealed to him. Yani, it is an indication towards At-Tawhīd. ثم ساق الشيخ رحمه الله أثر ابن مسعود. Then the Shaykh رحمه الله, he cited the athar, the narration of Ibn Mas'ud. It is his statement: من أراد أن ينظر إلى وصية محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم التي عليها خاتمة فليقرأ قوله تعالى. He said, Ibn Mas'ud said, whoever wishes to look at the will, the last will and testament of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, which he died upon, then let him read the statement of Allah the Exalted. And then he mentioned these verses. They are Surah Al-An'am, verse 151 through 153. Bear the saman, ayyul ikhwa akhawat. The will of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, his last will and testament, are these verses. Surah 6 Al-An'am, verse 151 through 153. And this is per the statement of Ibn Abd, the one whom the Messenger of Allah said, whoever wishes to recite the Quran, let him recite the Quran like Ibn Abd, meaning Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. طيب, we'll suffice with this inshallah ta'ala and pick up in the next sitting from the same point, or the next narration is the narration of Mu'adh ibn Jabal. We'll pick up from that point بإذن الله تعالى. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
Jazakumullah khairan ya Ustadh Al for the time and for the benefit. We pray Allah SWT to grant you success and continue to guide you, make you steadfast upon the Prophet. Amen, amen. There were a few questions that came through, Ustadh. Okay. The first questioner says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A sister had the intention to fast Arafah, but suddenly she is in a days of menses. She plans to feed a fasting person due to her situation. Will she be rewarded as having observed the Arafah fasting? Jazakumullah khairan.
So as it relates to this question, Allah Ta'ala is best. I will need to review the issue and return back to the brothers with the answer, inshallah Ta'ala, and perhaps the answer can be posted. Bi'idhnillah Ta'ala. I'm going to review the issue, inshallah, and return back with an answer. Allah for
the next question says, Assalamu alaikum. I'm very weak in Arabic, and wishing to seeking means is quite difficult. What do you advise me with, especially in these times of trials and tribulations? Jazakumullah khairan.
So as it relates to the one who may be weak in the Arabic language, but they have a desire to seek knowledge, but they don't have the means to perhaps travel to go study Arabic or to go study other branches and avenues of knowledge, we say, well, alhamdulillah, the wasa'il al-ilm in these days and times are much easier. We are not within the days of the Salaf al-Salih, for example, who had to travel much to go hear one hadith. Alhamdulillah, the books are here. Alhamdulillah, the lessons of the ulama are broadcasted and you can benefit from them from your home. So although it is better for you, and the main way that knowledge is sought is at the feet of its people, and if you have the opportunity to go and seek knowledge, then you should. But if you don't have the opportunity and the means, then what should you do? Should you just not seek knowledge? Of course not. You should seek knowledge and utilize whatever means you have at your disposal. So therefore, you can, if there are reliable and trustworthy students of knowledge in your area, you can sit with them and you can benefit from them and learn from them. If not, then you can listen to the lessons that are broadcasted from the likes of Miraf.net, wherein they have live lessons of the ulama of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, or you can listen to the lessons of the trustworthy and well-known students of knowledge. And I'm not sure of the students of knowledge that are there in your area, but in the West, for example, in America, we have the likes of Shaykh Hassan al-Somali. You have the likes of Shaykh And on my right, the likes of Shaykh Rashid Barbi, Shaykh Kashif Khan, Umar Quinn, and other than them from their brothers of Ahlu Sunnah wal Jama'ah. You can listen to the likes of their lessons. Likewise, our brothers, our Salafi brothers in the UK, such as Shaykh Abu Khadija, likewise Shaykh Abu Hakim Allah Davis, likewise Shaykh Abdul Al Shaykh Abu Mu'ad Taqweem, and other than them from the well-known and trusted students of knowledge from the UK. And I don't want the brothers to think that if I haven't mentioned someone's name that this is a slight against them, but rather that the students of knowledge, alhamdulillah, are many in both these two places, in America, likewise in the UK. So you can return to the likes of those brothers and listen to their lessons and benefit from them. Now, and as it relates to learning the Arabic language, similarly, the tools for learning the Arabic language, even from your home and where you are many. There are lessons online that you can take. You can find yourself an Arabic teacher that's willing to teach you online and via Zoom or Skype and the likes of that. So my point is, just because you cannot travel to go seek knowledge does not mean that you can't seek knowledge within your particular capacity, right from where you are. So just utilize the means that you have at your disposal to the absolute best of your ability and seek knowledge in that way, inshallah ta'ala.
Jazakumullah khairan, ya Ustad. The last says, Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. Is the younger brother of my husband's grandfather my mahram? And he said, note, the grandfather has younger brothers of the same mother and those of different brothers. I don't know whether this question is clear. Allah understand.
Okay, can you repeat it again? You said I couldn't hear you.
Is the younger brother of my husband's grandfather my
younger
mahram?
Brother of my husband's grandfather?
My husband's grandfather.
No, he's not. So this is your husband's uncle. It's your husband's uncle, right? So in this case, no, that the uncle of the husband is not mahram for his nephew's wife.
Just for clarification, Ustad, the questioner added, he said, note, sorry I didn't read this. The grandfather has younger brothers of the same mother and those of different mothers.
Perhaps this question you can write it out to me so I can look at it and have it in front of me. All right, mashallah.
Jazakumullah khairan. Okay, I'll send you private to the Ustad after the lecture, and inshallah to post them to the group as your answer.
Allah yubarik.
Wafiikum barakallah. We're really grateful for the time and for the benefit. Allah SWT grant you goodness and preserve you upon khair. Jazakumullah khairan. And for Allah bikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.